Hello, everyone. This is Soda, and I am here with Sarah over here, who is a social media strategist. And I had a consultation with Sarah recently, and this woman is so passionate about really helping creatives navigate through this jungle known as social media because she knows as a creative herself, as a writer, a best-selling writer, right?
Yeah, number one
Um,
best-selling author, yeah.
yeah, best-selling author. She knows that a lot of us we just want to do our art. We just want to do our writing. We just want to do our music. And she completely understands that, but also understands that we need to know social media. So I am excited to have her with me today to um, give us some tips on how we can go about this and maybe when it might be a good idea to get some external help. And if you are someone who wants to be that person to help others, a little bit of tips on that. So, Sarah, do you mind talking a little bit about how you got into the career field you are and your experience with social media?
Sure, definitely. So before I niched down, I actually started as a virtual assistant back in like
Mm.
2013, I'd say, doing a lot of things for other companies, individuals, and I just didn't like being a jack of all trades. One day you're doing blogging, another admin, customer service,
Mhm.
etc. So then I always knew I loved writing. I been writing since I'm a teenager, creative writing, article writing, and I knew that I loved doing that. So that's how I landed into blogs and then learning more about social media, and it kind of just grew from there. So then I
Mhm.
knew I knew my niche could be organic marketing. So that's kind of how I ended up here.
And when you say organic marketing, what exactly does that mean?
Basically, it means nothing paid. So no paid advertising. It's all organic. It's about building authentic relationships and connections that can help you grow your business.
Okay, so because I know a lot of people will, pay to promote on Facebook and,
Yes.
you know, Amazon or whatever. What are some pros and cons of doing it more organically rather than paying to promote?
Well, doing it organically, one con might be it might take you a little bit longer, but at the same time, you're also going to have the benefit of those relationships lasting for years. And you never know who can refer you or who can do a collaboration project with you. Like, say, if you want to hold a webinar or a workshop or something like that. Though that is really, in my opinion, the pro versus the con of it.
And how did you really learn about the social media aspect? You said you wanted to niche down. What really made you choose this? Did you take any courses on it? What's your experience with learning that?
Well, I did take a digital marketing course, so I have a certificate in that. But I also participated over the years in two different coaching programs with mentors. So that really did help a lot because, it takes a village. No matter what field or industry we're in, we always need that extra support, and that's what I did. One of my mentorships was for a whole year, and the other was for half a year. And I definitely learned a lot of value from it. I learned
Mhm.
things that I loved, I learned things that I hate, but I learned them. So that was a big part of it.
And what are some of the do you have any experiences with creatives where you took what you learned and really helped them transform their career?
I have experience working directly with writers. A lot of people that I've worked with are either aspiring authors or are authors, Amazon bestsellers. And in addition to that, my brother is a creative. He is into music, looking to start his own band. He is also a wonderful artist. So I kind of grew up with that by my side because we're very close. So I learned things from him from the creative aspect, and he's learned things from me from the business aspect. So it's
Mhm.
definitely like a yin and yang relationship, but it really works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel like with my husband. He's an accountant, and
Hmm.
he's been learning a lot from me about, this side of things, and then I'm learning about the business side, which, is, as creatives, we tend to just have a really really hard time understanding strategy and all that stuff.
Yeah,
What are some
I've
of the
seen that.
what are some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of us tend to make when it comes to social media and strategizing our potential business?
I would say, in regards to social media specifically, I would say I've seen a lot of creatives pick the wrong platform for their ideal audience
Mhm.
because that's like probably the most important thing. You do want a presence everywhere, but you do want to figure out what is my master platform? Where is my ideal client avatar going to be a majority of the time? So I would say that's one mistake I've seen.
Yeah, and in regards to that, so my the kind of people I want to reach out with personally are mostly on platforms that I just don't like. What are some, I love YouTube. I love using YouTube. I love uploading on YouTube. I love YouTube, but that's not where my people are. They're on Instagram, Facebook, even like my when it comes to the writing stuff, they're on TikTok, but my art stuff, they're all on Instagram. So what are some ways that we can like learn to love these platforms that maybe we don't originally like that our followers would most likely be on, if that makes sense?
Well, I can understand that because there are just certain platforms myself that I don't like, and I just don't want to use them. So I completely understand that first. And unfortunately, sometimes we do have to bite the bullet and deal with it. So here's my thoughts on that. I'll use you as an example because since you love YouTube, one benefit of it is you can actually repurpose your content. So you don't have to go crazy burning out trying to, what do I do with Instagram? And you can repurpose the content that you've put on YouTube, even if you just clip it, edit it, use bits and pieces. You have so much content creation right there for reels that would be like one of the easiest things to do. And if you happen to be drawing, like say you're in a creative mode and you're drawing something, record yourself. Record yourself, upload it. Try to incorporate the things that you're passionate about, use that as content, and then put it on the social media platform that you don't like but will be beneficial to you.
So in regards to that, I was wondering, I feel like certain content is better on certain platforms. And should we be changing up our content a little bit for the different platforms, or just putting the same thing everywhere? And same with like hashtags and stuff like that.
Okay, so it there's a 50-50 to that. Yes, you can repurpose the same content because we've all done that as content creators because there gets to a point where you want to avoid the burnout. So I
Mhm.
would say part of the time you can do it, and then the other part of the time you will want to create content specifically for that. Like what I usually recommend to a lot of my clients is to sit down and have a one-to-one with them first before we start creating the content and actually implementing it. So we sit down and we focus. Who's your ideal avatar? What keywords do you use to describe your ideal avatar, and what keywords do you think they would search for to find your stuff? Coming down with those keywords is so important for SEO because not only does Pinterest use SEO, but Instagram is using more SEO. You don't have to go as crazy with hashtags anymore. You have to focus on the caption part. what words in the caption would people use in their search engine? Because that's how they're going to go and find you. So it's really more about sitting down first, creating a strategy, that creating a strategy for new content and creating a strategy on how to repurpose the content you already have.
So, okay, that totally makes sense. And when you mentioned about like finding out what the best titles are and stuff like that, and figuring out our ideal avatar, um, what are some ways that we can figure out our ideal avatar and what they like, and especially if they aren't the if your ideal avatar is slightly different than you.
Okay. In 3 words, specifically adjectives, tell me 3 adjectives you would use to describe your ideal avatar.
Um, I would say creative. I would say um, passionate. I would say supportive. People who like to support other people.
Okay. So, what I did here is what I would do in a strategy session with someone, because people don't realize how closely linked branding and marketing are. In order to figure out your proper marketing message, you want to sit down and figure out all those little details for your branding. So, those keywords would help to figure out what psychology colors we would use in, say, your logo if somebody doesn't have it or if they need it updated. It would help to figure out, your mission statement, which would have keywords in it. Help, obviously, your ideal client avatar, your the offer that you want to have for them. What is it you're going to use to attract them? So that's like a little example of what I would do during a strategy session in order to get from point A to point B. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. So as a strategist, like if because I know for me, looking up key terms and stuff like that, it's super, super overwhelming. And
Yeah.
knowing the best way to present myself. Like I know what my message, but I don't know the best way to present myself. And a lot of people have a hard time presenting their product in a coherent way. Is that something that a strategist would be able to really go into detail with? Or, at what point would it maybe be good to have someone do that for you? Or should people just learn to do it themselves?
Well, one thing I learned in my programs was you don't have to do everything in your business, but you need to know how to do everything in your business, because you can have a team, so to speak, helping you, but you need to make sure that they're implementing it accordingly. So that would be the first thing I say. I would always say, sit down. I always like to sit down and teach people first. That's what I feel the strategy sessions are. I'm teaching people first. Even if they still want me to do the content creation for them, that's fine. But I like to go over things with them so they understand what I'm doing, just to make it clear, because
Yeah.
it can get very confusing and overwhelming with marketing, especially with all the algorithm changes all these social media platforms have consistently. So.
Okay. So what about if like what maybe you're a writer who writes in two different genres, or an artist who does two different types of art? How do you handle situations where you might have two completely different target audiences?
Well, actually, that's a perfect example because my brother does a little bit of both. Like his main audience is more indie artists. So he has a focus with them on, say Twitter and through his Patreon. But then I've connected him with people from my end of the spectrum, more um, I want to say a little bit more business oriented, I guess would be the way to describe it, where they've needed things like book covers or they've needed logos. So he's a perfect example of like two different target audiences. So if you know the difference in your audiences and where they're going to be located, then that will help you figure out, okay, I want to be on this social media platform for this genre, and I want to be on that social media platform for that genre.
Okay, so how do you communicate, like, in the description or whatever, whether it's two separate genres or just your genre? What are some ways that when people look at your Instagram or your TikTok or your YouTube or your Facebook, what are some ways to just share right away what your message is, what you're about, what genre of books you're writing, what exactly you do?
So there's multiple areas. I'll use Instagram as an example because a lot of creatives do use Instagram. The most important part on Instagram is the bio. A lot of people get confused with the bio. What needs to go in there? What needs to go in there definitely is your mission statement, because that's going to tell people who you help and how you're going to help. So that's like numero uno. And then say if you're a writer, you might want to put in there that you're a Amazon bestselling author, number one in Amazon bestselling author, international, anything like that. So any type of award or certificate that makes you stand out, you're going to want to put that in your bio as well. And then the last thing is going to be a call to action statement. So say for an author, as an example, maybe in addition to having their books, they have like a little writing cheat sheet, so to speak, that they like to give to their audience. They can have that as their call to action because people always want to get something for free. Like for me, I offer them people a free discovery call and the opportunity to sign up for my marketing newsletter for free. So those are the important things you need in a bio. Then the next thing you want to take advantage of is story highlights. I can't tell you how many times I've had all types of entrepreneurs not utilize their story highlights. And that people need to think of it like this. Say if you're shopping and you stop in front of a boutique store. What would you think if they had nothing in their window?
That maybe they are not there anymore.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what you need to think of the story highlights. This is your opportunity to shine. Say if you have a creative who happens to be an artist and a writer, you can have a story highlight showcasing um, quotes from your books as an example. Or if you have poetry, you can do that. If you have artwork, say if you're also a children's book author, you can showcase some of that there. You can have another um, story highlight with testimonies, people who reviewed after reading your books and stuff like that. So many people don't take advantage of that. And then the next most important thing that a lot of people aren't even aware of is that you can pin 3 post reels to the top of your story highlights. So you can take advantage of that because even if people decide, oh, I'm not really going to read the bio or the story highlights, I'm just going to scroll right down to the grid. Those 3 pinned grids are going to be the first things they see. So you could take advantage and create a reel that, you know, says what you're all about. You can create advantage and take a reel that shows how you draw or shows your writing process or the different books that you've done. So there's a lot of different avenues you can do in order to be very strategic as a creative.
Yeah, I definitely need to get into using the stories on Instagram because I hear that that's a really good way to kind of the followers that you already have, getting them more involved,
Yes.
which leads me to my next question, which is how do you get more engagement? Like maybe you have a lot of views, but nobody's commenting, nobody's following up on any call to action. How do we go about that?
You have to engage with other people for them to engage with you. It's really as simple as that, whether you are engaging with their stories or if you're engaging with their reels, their carousel post, anything like that. If you're on Facebook and you're in groups and you're not engaging with other people, or you are posting a post yourself and then you ghost the comments. You gotta, in order to spark engagement for yourself, you gotta spark engagement with others.
That is a very good point, because I know that I get really excited when like I'll mention something about a book, and
Hmm.
a author's comment that maybe has lots of comments, and when they will even like my comment or respond like, oh, I appreciate it, stuff, it definitely makes
Hmm.
me feel like that author or that artist or musician or whatever actually cares about it, and I know that comes to a certain point where you can't do it for like everyone when you get, really big. But um what do we do when we like are attracting the wrong type of people? For example, my
Okay.
brother, he has a YouTube about transforming his bus into a home, and this one video that he did that went viral attracted a ton of people in a demographic that he was not really wanting, and now is kind of stuck with that. What are some ways that we could remedy if something like that happens?
Okay, well, one way you might be able to remedy things is what I like to call spring cleaning. Go through, check out your followers who are following you, and if they're not as aligned, you can remove them. And you also want to check who you're following if they're not aligned, because you could have the same Instagram account or Facebook account for a decade even, and maybe over that decade you've evolved as a creative, a business owner. So spring cleaning definitely is one. Another way is to get back on track with your proper videos. Don't try to go outside with something you would normally do. Or if all else fails, delete that video, get rid of it, get it out of your algorithm.
Yeah, that's that's sometimes hard to do because you're like, oh, I have so many followers, but
I know, I
then
know. It
then
just
the
it
algorithm's like,
depends.
the algorithm thinks that oh, these kind of people, like your stuff. I'm gonna send it to more like farmers or whatever, when like,
Exactly.
you just had this
Sometimes
one-off video about a farmer, like um so can
sometimes, unfortunately, deleting, or even if you don't delete, even archiving.
yeah, because I know
Archiving.
sometimes social media gets mad at you when you delete things.
Yes. So
uh,
archiving could be the safer option. Um, and then I would say, even before you archive it, have videos or reels in draft that you're ready to just shoot out before you archive it. This way you're sending the proper message to the algorithm then.
okay, that's a good
So
idea.
kind of be prepared.
Yeah, because I did a spring cleaning like a few months ago on my YouTube, and I unlisted like 20 videos or something because I was like trying to rebrand myself, but I didn't have anything after. So then, like, I lost a bunch of followers, but didn't gain any back. So that's a good tip about having other ones ready to go out. Would you be able to explain a little bit about the importance of having your own website and maybe some affordable options if you can't pay a website designer in the beginning?
Okay, definitely. I would say one of the best options, if you can't afford to pay someone to do it, or even if you can't afford to pay for the website itself and you need to use the free version, would be Wix,
Yeah.
because they are the most customizable one. And I feel like they're the easiest for anyone to use, especially if you're just starting out. You could even create a simple website that is really just one page. It's it's not a landing page, but it's similar, that it's one part, but the menu options at the top will just take them down section by section. as opposed to page by page. So you can really just make one thing, have something plain and simple for people to land on, but it's a good way for people to see what you have, who you are, and they can contact you easily. Because sometimes messages can get lost a little bit easily on social media, whereas at least your website, it's connected directly with your email.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually just today, I re-downloaded my Wix app to try to figure out a website. Because yeah, I've experimented with a bunch and I definitely feel like they are the easiest. So two more questions. All right, and then I'll let you go. Um, at what point would it be a good idea to hire someone like you? Because I know that, in the very beginning, when you're not even sure if you're going to be making money off of whatever you're doing, you're like, okay, so what should I invest in? Is it worth it how do you know when it's worth it to hire someone to help you strategize and figure out what the best plan is?
Well, what I usually suggest to individuals is if they're just starting out and they really need help, but they don't have a lot of money to invest in having someone do the content creation for them, because content creation usually costs more because we're the ones doing it. But if they do need some help, having one-to-one strategy sessions might be a better way to go, because they can take notes. The session can be recorded, so they can always go back and see what else they can implement themselves. So basically it's like just paying for a few classes at that they can learn a lot of the skills that they would need, and then they have to go off and implement it themselves.
Yeah, I like that idea because like, I remember being told by someone, and I just thought it was so dumb in the beginning, but now I'm thinking about it, and I love this advice. I remember hearing someone say, "Never do something that you could pay someone else to do." And I was like I always had the opposite mentality of never pay someone else to do something that you could do. And sometimes, you do have to do everything yourself, especially in the beginning, because you're low budget, and it's important to at least understand things before you hire someone else out to do it. But I personally have been delegating more lately, and yeah, it does cost money, but I have found like I've been able to be so much more productive.
Yeah.
And like, even though I don't make money off of any social media platform or anything like that, just the confidence, the excitement, so much of that has been rejuvenated. So just wanted to plug that out there for anyone who is considering but not quite sure. And so my last question is, what is something every single creative can, if they are just starting out and feeling overwhelmed about social media, what is the best first step that they can do to grow their social media presence?
Take a step back from all the social media platforms. Pick the one that you feel you're working the best at, getting the most engagement and visibility, and just focus on that one. Don't worry about the other ones. Take a time out. They're not going anywhere. And focus on that one and try to grow that one first. It's really the best way to take it easy without falling off the map. One social media platform, make it your master.
I love that advice. Good. Keeping it simple, and then you could expand from there, right? You get
Yes.
your username on your other platforms, you claim it before anyone
Yep.
else can, but then you could get back to it later. So yes,
Mhm.
I love that. If anyone wants to connect with Sarah, she is a wealth of knowledge. She definitely really cares about helping others. So I really appreciate you coming in, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Well, thank you for having me. And yes, I have experience, especially working with writers. So if anybody does need help, I'm here. And you have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.